Today we're going to try a new area. It's Lovell Canyon, and we have to reach this point. This is Lovell Canyon Road, and to reach this point we took the highway between Las Vegas and Pahrump, past Potassi Mountain area, which is up in this area, and there are a number of trailheads along the way that we'll try at some point. But today we're going to look at Lovell Canyon, and you can see there's the Lovell Wash Group Camp, CC Springs Group Camp, Torino Ranch, and then there's hiking and equestrian trailhead, and I think that that's the Lovell Canyon Trail. So we've got 12 miles to go. The road looks good for the beast here that can only do paved roads. So if you've got a car that only does paved roads, you're okay on this road so far. Let's see what happens. Well, I'm loving this little road, Lovell Canyon Road. It is located on one side. You've got, well, you can't see it in this view too well, but what we're looking at is behind these trees the Rainbow Mountain Wilderness, and so you see up ahead kind of ridge line. The Rainbow Mountains are going to be in this direction on the other side of this ridge. You see some beautiful valleys up ahead. Just amazing. And look at the plant life. We're at about 5,000 feet, and you can see pine trees, juniper trees. We just passed through on the way up here a beautiful Joshua tree forest, but what a different landscape we have here. And then let's take another look down Lovell Canyon Road. And what we're looking at in this direction is the Spring Mountains. And I'm not certain, but we could be looking at Mount Charleston here. I'm just not certain. But you can see we've got the Spring Mountains ahead, and then to the right we have the Rainbow Mountains. And Wilson Ridge is up in this area also. So we're going to continue on and just see what unfolds before us. And by the way, there are a number of pullouts for camping on this road. And so I believe few people really know this area exists, but it looks to me like it's wide open for camping. I see some trailers, campers, tents along the way in spots, and they're spaced out beautifully. So if you're camping out in this area, you are pretty much to yourself and have all of nature around you. But we're pretty much just beyond that last place where we took the video, and it looks a little more open here, so you can see what this area looks like. You see a few Joshua trees still, but mostly junipers and pines. You can hear birds. It's just a beautiful little eco zone all of its own. There's looking toward the Rainbow Mountains now. So you get the Rainbow Mountains on this side. They would be to your east or to the right, actually, as you're ascending Lovell Canyon Road. And then we look over in this direction. And we're looking at the Spring Mountains. And I'm still thinking maybe Mount Charleston. Not sure. It seemed like it should have more snow on it. However, this time of year, this side of the mountains is pretty clear of snow normally. And almost nobody's on this road. This would be a great road to you could almost do a marathon along this road. What a beautiful backdrop. Great place to ride a bike, to just take a walk. What a beautiful road this is. Well, the beast has reached the end of the line here. You can see that we've changed from paved to unpaved road. So I'm going to put the beast right there, and let's see where we are. We've got a trailhead in just a quarter mile, private property straight ahead. So we're going to take a left here and head up this unpaved road. And it looks like Lovell Summit is 2 miles and Trout Canyon is 11 miles, which tells me that the unpaved road is going to continue for some time, for 11 miles. Now, that mountain we were looking at earlier that I said maybe that's Mount Charleston or Charleston Peak, I'm convinced now that this is Griffith Peak, but not entirely sure yet. And of course, we've got the Rainbow Mountain Wilderness off in this direction, and Lovell Canyon continues on up this unpaved road. So let's go for it. Quick 360. Looking back down Lovell Canyon Road. Very nice paved road, by the way. About 12 miles. Yeah, more and more I'm convinced that we're looking at Griffith Peak here. So we're headed up this unpaved road now. A couple miles till, well, a quarter mile to the trailhead for Lovell Canyon Trail. And just looking around here, there looks to be quite a few ridges all around us. We are surrounded by ridges that we could ascend and get a better look at the area. So at some point, I think I'm going to come back and ascend a whole lot of the ridges around here. And it looks like you could almost make your way up to Griffith Peak from this area too. That would be a cool experience. Look at that high point up there. Wonder what you could see from there. I bet you could look down on the Rainbow Mountains and almost into Red Rock Park. We don't know, but at some point we're going to find out. Down here lower, there's a lot of brush and trees to encounter, but once you get above that and you're on these ridges, it would be pretty clear going. Just a lot of ascents, and you'd be heading up a number of avalanche slopes, so you get used to navigating on that kind of terrain and you'd be all right. So onward, let's find that trailhead. Well, here's the Lovell Canyon trailhead, just a quarter mile beyond the end of the paved road. And it looks like the unpaved road is going to continue on here. So at some point, I'm going to take this unpaved road, but for today, I just want to take the trailhead here. I hear there's like a 5-mile pretty easy trail. This is my rest day after 2 weeks of between 25 and 30-mile trips up the Madre mountain wilderness. So we're just going to take it easy and discover this new area. It looks like ample parking here, and we're just going to go up the trail and look around and get to a high point, and then take a look at the landscape, and again looking for ridges we can summit and just ride along the top of ridge systems. That'll be for a return trip. We're about at 5,200 feet elevation, and here's a trail over on this side. That's interesting. Okay, maybe this is the way it goes. That's nice, because then we'll get up to the top and see Griffith Peak a little better. But it's 98 degrees predicted in the Las Vegas Valley today, and at 5,200 feet at this point, we're not going to ascend beyond around 6,000 feet today, and so that is going to equal, up in the mid 80s by the time we're done. But looking at the sign here, Handy Peak Loop is 1.6 miles, Schaefer Spring Loop 2.3 miles, Griffith Shadow Loop, that was Griffith Peak, 2.9 miles. So we're going to take this trailhead and just look around, see what we can see, and also look for other approaches. Maybe we'll find a ridge that looks like it could head up to Griffith Peak from here. Okay, here we go. Oh, guess what? We are in the La Madre mountain wilderness now. That's a large wilderness. I guess we just can't escape that in this area. So, and we don't want to. Okay, onward. This trail is a very nice, well-maintained trail, as you can see. Lovell Canyon Trail. Okay. And, you know, look around. Look at the plant life. You're in a forest here. Very beautiful. We're quickly rising up to about 6,000 feet. It's about a 800-foot elevation gain from the trailhead, and that's about the height we're going to attain unless we leave and head for a ridge. Anyway, beautiful trail, great place to be, and as I said, 98 degrees in the Las Vegas Valley today. So you can expect it 6,000 feet. Yeah, we're closing in on 80 right now. Okay, we've emerged into a place where you can see a greater perspective here. And we're looking toward the Rainbow Mountains, which are likely to be seen if you were at the top of the ridge in the background up ahead. You might be looking down on Red Rock Park, Mount Wilson, Rainbow Mountain, Bridge Mountain. Not totally sure, but kind of cool. It looks as if, well, down in the valley there is where we parked the Beast, and there's looking down Lovell Canyon. But it looks like I could catch one of these ridges here and just head along that ridge all the way up to the upper ridges in the background. And I imagine we're looking at in the area of 7,500 feet or more, not over 8,000 feet. And that is a future adventure. We'll round this corner, and in fact, let's do that right now. Grab my walking sticks here. Okay, let's just round the corner to see the perspective from this area. Once again, beautiful little trail here. Okay, good. And you can see up Lovell Canyon. There we are. You see the extent of it, and then the high point is Griffith Peak. Just a second, let me set down my hiking sticks, and we're looking at Griffith Peak up here. And oh boy, Harris Mountain is somewhere in the area. Could it be this? I am not sure. If that is Harris Mountain, which it very well could be, actually. Oh, wait a minute. Am I pointed to it? Yes. I was looking around and not looking at where the phone was pointed. Okay, so let's make a guess here, and I think it's an accurate guess. If you go to LasVegasAreaTrails.com and you go to the Griffith Harris Circuit page, we ascend Griffith Peak from the South Climb trailhead, and then we head down this ridge to the right of Griffith Peak. There is the cliff area right at the bottom and a saddle, and we've been around that. You can actually navigate around that area. We're seeing it from this perspective, which is actually the best perspective I've seen. And then you head up Harris Mountain to the right of that saddle. So there is the wilderness portion, no trails, of the Griffith Harris circuit. And then once you hit the top of the summit of Harris Mountain, about 10,300 feet, Griffith Peak is around 11,060 feet, I believe. So down the saddle, up Harris Mountain, and then down the other side of Harris Mountain, through the Rainbow subdivision eventually. There's a nice ridge that'll take you down. There, once again, no trails. And that ridge will take you down, and you'll end up back at the South Climb Trailhead. And come to think of it, if you look closely beneath Harris Mountain there, just a little bit, midway up, you look carefully, you can see a trail. That's the trail that begins on Harris Springs Road and heads up Harris Mountain. And if you want to climb Harris Mountain, that is the most direct route, except it takes going on a dirt road, which, as you know, the beast does not do. Anyway, we have stood at all points along this route between Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain and looked down in this canyon, not knowing what it was. And you can hear me on the Griffith Harris page saying something like, "This is a beautiful little canyon. I don't know what it is." Well, it was Lovell Canyon. So there is a good, piecing together this wilderness area. Now we've got a totally different perspective. And that basically means the Keystone Thrust is off in this direction. And yes, if you were at the summit of this peak here, you'd be looking down on the Rainbow Mountains and Red Rock Park. So that gives you an idea, the area that we're in and where all the connections are. So you could actually piece together a video of the entire Spring Mountains, Red Rock Canyon area, Madre Mountain Wilderness, just by putting together videos from LasVegasAreaTrails.com. So if you ever do that, let me know. Love to see it. Okay, onward. Here's a better view of Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain and the saddle between. And then Lovell Canyon. Again, here's the trail. Pretty nice trail. A lot of people walking this trail along with their small dogs. Haven't seen many huge dogs. So this would be the adventure, is ascend this ridge on the far side of Lovell Canyon and just ride this ridge. I think you'd be able to ride it all the way up to Harris Mountain. Not sure. Maybe not, but it's a possibility. And then on over to Griffith Peak. That could be an awesome adventure. And then down Griffith Peak to the South Climb. If you had two cars, you could actually start here and end up in Mount Charleston Village, basically. That's a nice cross-country adventure. Or you could take the Mount Charleston Loop if you were a glutton for punishment and just wanted to experience a huge, maybe multi-day adventure or ultra marathon. That would be an awesome trip too. So lots of possibilities in this very interconnected wilderness. Here we are at the first division in the trail, and you can see Lovell Canyon Trail continues on, but we've got some choices to the left. Handy Plank Loop and Griffith Shadow Loop. I'm going to take that 1.3 mile loop to the left here. We'll go up Griffith Shadow Loop and just check that out. We can always come back down and continue along the Lovell Canyon Trail down in this direction. But for now, heading up toward Griffith Shadow Loop. Sounds interesting and like good viewpoints. Continuing on up the Griffith Shadow Loop Trail. And where does it loop? Maybe it loops back to the Lovell Canyon Trail. But in the meantime, let's take a look around. So there's Griffith Peak. Here's the saddle between Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain there, behind this hill in the foreground. Better image of that is in the previous section of this video. But looking over this direction, boy, it looks like you could ascend this ridge and take the ridge top right on over to Griffith Peak. That would be an interesting climb. But the views there are just amazing, and you can see from Griffith Peak that you would ascend right to the summit by a different ridge. And you can see on the Griffith Peak page where the various ridges connect up at the summit of Griffith Peak. That could be an amazing adventure. And then you connect with the Mount Charleston Loop Trail. So nice. Okay, let's continue on up. Maybe we'll get an even better view of the whole area before we're done. By the way, if you look very closely, about halfway up Harris Mountain, you can see that trail a little more clearly from here. That's the trail that goes from Harris Springs Road up to the summit of Harris Mountain, which is the most common way people ascend Harris Mountain. Here's a better view of the ridge system on the far side of Lovell Canyon. Once again, ascending to the summit of this ridge and then just riding along the top of the ridge would give awesome views of Red Rock Park. And then you can see Harris Mountain, and then just through the trees, let's see if we can get a better view, would be Griffith Peak. There we go. Griffith Peak in the saddle between Griffith and Harris Mountain. Here's a view across Lovell Canyon to what I believe now is the Wilson Ridge. Runs above the Rainbow Mountains. You're looking down on Mount Wilson when you're up there. I think there is Harris Mountain. We'll get a better view of that side in a bit. Let's see what we can see when we come around the corner here. Well, there's a Pretty large bluff there at the end of, in the foreground, blocking the view of Wilson Ridge. Maybe we'll get a better view of everything together. I hope. That would be great. We're at about 6,200 feet. There you see Griffith Peak up ahead. And then again, this is another perspective of that saddle between Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain. Looks like that cliff near the bottom of the saddle would stop you, but fortunately there's a switchback trail that gets you down and around that cliff there. And then circling around. Here's that bluff, and then we're looking at the Wilson Ridge. So there's some great shots of this area and some of the high points. And then zooming in on Harris Mountain, this perspective probably gives you an even better view of the trail between Harris Springs Road and Harris Mountain. A lot of tremendous views. You can look back and see Madre Mountain from the top of Harris Mountain, and also from the summit of Griffith Peak. So taking that Harris Griffith circuit is just viewpoint after viewpoint all along the way. A little rugged though, because there's no trail. Another split in the trail, and looks like Handy Loop continues down the hill here and probably reconnects with the Lovell Canyon Trail down at the bottom. That's what I would think. And Schaefer Spring Loop, interesting. We'll have to check those out. But I'm going to stick with the Griffith Shadow Loop that's heading up toward Griffith Peak. I doubt it gets very much further. It'll probably loop down eventually to the Lovell Canyon Trail. We'll see. Okay, so a couple little loop variations here. Here's a great 360-degree view. We start at the summit of Griffith Peak. Then we head down the saddle between Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain. There's Harris Mountain. Then we circle around and you can see emerging, well, probably about here, emerging is the Wilson Ridge. And if you continued on behind that ridge, you'd probably be on the Keystone Thrust, which would take you up to La Madre Mountain. But here's the Wilson Ridge. Get a view of the entire ridge top from here. Then back around, and at this point you can just see the different plants on this hillside, about 6,200 feet in the Spring Mountains. That's what things look like. Looks like there was a fire here at one time. We'll do a silent circuit now. There we are back at Griffith Peak. Continuing on up, this little Griffith Shadow Trail keeps going up. And one thing I can say is it's nice to be on a trail for once. But you can see, I believe that summit over there is on the Keystone Thrust. We're looking at the Wilson Ridge. Very good perspective of the ridge. Once again, on the other side of this, if you were standing on top of this ridge, you would be looking down on Red Rock Park. And where I think this little trail is headed, I don't think it's any 1.3 miles, but it seems like a little more. Maybe they put the decimal point in the wrong place and it's 13. Who knows? But anyway, looks like we're heading up to this summit. Boy, if we are, we will have an awesome view. Let's continue on up. It's the best view of the Griffith-Harris Loop yet. There's Harris Mountain, Saddle, Griffith Peak. And then just to give you an idea where we are, we have continued to ascend. I just wonder if we actually are going to hit this high point up here. We'll see. Okay, this trail continues on around. Guess that's why they call it a loop. And you can see a ridge up there, and that ridge leads straight up to Griffith Peak. However, I have a feeling that between where I'm standing and that ridge, there is a deep canyon. So I'm not sure that this is the best route to ascend Griffith Peak, because you end up descending then reascending quite a bit. But let's continue on a little bit more. I'm going to be running out of time soon, and so if this doesn't start looping around, I'm going to turn around and head back. And there's Harris Mountain. Here's a little back canyon, and I think I might be looking down toward the Pahrump area, but not sure. Continuing around the Griffith Shadow Loop, a huge loop. If I were to ascend that ridge up to Griffith Peak, this is the connector point. And it looks like this trail may be taking me up there. I don't know. I hope it circles down and loops around and gets back to the Lovell Canyon Trail. Anyway, yeah, here's the connector without descending down into a canyon. So let's go ahead and go a little bit further here. If it looks like it's going to take me up this ridge, I got to turn around. But this looks like a good future experience. The trail is indeed looping around, so I am going to have a power bar, put on my knee braces, and the races will begin back to the trailhead, hopefully, if this actually does loop around and go back down. If not, I'm turning around and heading the long way. And yes, it could very well be 13 miles instead of 1.3. Okay, onward. So in answer to your question, where are we? This is the Griffith Shadow Loop on the Lovell Canyon Trail, or off that trail. And let's take a look at some of the landmarks. You're looking at a high point on the Keystone Ridge, from which you would be looking down on Red Rock Park, or the Keystone Thrust, actually. And if you continued on past that, you'd hit, well, from that high point, you could also see La Madre Mountain. And then this ridge in the foreground, on the other side of this, you're going to be looking at Kyle Canyon. And then here is Harris Mountain on the left here. And about halfway up, you'll notice a trail. That's the main trail between Harris Springs Road and the summit of Harris Mountain. And then Griffith Peak is over this ridge. In fact, if you went up this ridge and you had another, I don't know, another half day to a day, you would be ascending up to Griffith Peak. In fact, it's only probably, as the crow flies, it's about, I don't know, less than 10 miles. But wow, the land between, the terrain between here and there is pretty challenging. Anyway, hopefully we're circling around the Griffith Shadow Loop and heading back down to Lovell Canyon Trail. Let's see. If we're not, then it's going to be a long trip. Okay, here we go. Yes, that 1.3 mile trail has got to be 13 miles. It looks like I'm finally looping around, and here we have Lovell Canyon. And so hopefully I will rejoin the Lovell Canyon Trail and head back to where I started. And there's the Wilson Ridge, that high point going back behind that, turning into the Keystone Thrust. And then here's the ridge that overlooks Kyle Canyon. And then here you see Harris Mountain and the Harris Mountain Trail. And there we go, Harris Mountain. Get a close up here. And you can see the trail. You can see that straight line there. That's the Harris Mountain Trail that begins at Harris Springs Road and then heads up to the summit of Harris Mountain. And then behind these ridges here would be Griffith Peak. So there you have the full story of where we are. If I ascended these ridges, I'd be able to go right up to Griffith Peak. But it probably wouldn't be right up. It would be another 5 hours probably. So, hopefully heading down this elongated loop trail called the Griffith Shadow Loop. And let's hope that it connects with the Lovell Canyon Trail so that we don't have to retrace our steps, because there's a lot of up and down. We'll be ascending and descending about 1,200 feet. Okay, on we go. Okay, now the trail has emptied down into Lovell Canyon. Oh boy, it looks like it continues along the other side. There's a cairn on the other side. So, I don't know. I may actually need to retrace my way. That's going to be one long trip unless I get very lucky and this begins to head down the canyon. But it looks like I cross here. Maybe I go up that ridge and then head down. I don't know. In fact, I may just head down the canyon anyway and hope I don't reach a dead end, because we need to get back to our point of origin. I think I'm going to head down the canyon. Okay, here we go. Okay, heading down this canyon, Lovell Canyon, and my theory is that this is going to empty out onto the road where the beast is parked. If it doesn't, then we got a whole lot of backtracking to do, but it just seems logical that that would be the case. The rocks here aren't too bad. I'm wearing my trail running shoes, and also my ankles are very strong from every single day I run about 6 miles off-road, and that really helps. I would not attempt even something like this without that kind of conditioning, because the scenario is you sprain your ankle and you're out here in the heat. It's about 85 degrees now, and there's a nice little breeze, and I have approximately, I started out with 4 liters of water. I have a couple liters left, so that's a good sign. So this is what gives me confidence. Heading down a nice wash that's got to end up, in fact I see a trail ahead of me. That may be the Lovell Canyon Trail. Heading down a nice wash and going in the right direction. There's only one canyon, and you've got to pretty much take this canyon to get out anyway. And my conditioning works for this, so I'm actually feeling pretty good, and it's a little adventure. Okay, here's a good view up toward Griffith Peak, Harris Mountain, and the saddle between from the center of Lovell Canyon. Pretty cool. If you go to the Griffith Harris Circuit page, you'll be looking down on this spot, and I'll be asking the question, what is this place? This canyon looks pretty cool. Okay, and then looking around, looks like there's a little trail over there. Interesting. Maybe I'll take that for a little ways. I know that I need to be over in the higher section. I think that the bluff that we saw earlier is right there. So what I need to do is circle around the other side of that bluff. Should be interesting. Okay, here we go. Oh, by the way, let's just do the finish the 360-degree view from the center of Lovell Canyon. Okay, here we go. This canyon has been fairly quick going. I'm able to go at a slight run. Here's Griffith Peak, Saddle, and then, oops, sorry, up to Harris Mountain. Okay, but the kind of interesting thing here is that right where a trail really needs to be, looks like there's a trail up ahead. And I'm going to imagine that's the Lovell Canyon Trail. So I'm heading for that and then head back on that trail. Alternately, I could continue down this canyon and it might even be faster. I don't know. But I'm going to go up to the trail because a little easier going than navigating on these rocks. Although they're not that bad. Okay, let's get over to that trail over there and then head on back. Well, I was right. I just passed a sign that says this is the Lovell Canyon Trail. There is the bluff. We're circling around beneath it, and then we should meet up with where we left this trail. And you'll probably see that sign that says Griffith Shadow Loop Trail. I don't think it's a loop. There's more of the Lovell Canyon Trail. No, I don't think that's a 1.3 mile loop. I don't care what they tell you. I think they missed a decimal point there. Anyway, we're continuing on now. We're back on track. Well, guess what? Here we are back at the trailhead for cars with better clearance than the Beast. And looks like we've got a Hornet, a Yellow Jacket on the camera. Ah! Now it's getting on me. Get away. Okay. Oh, that's the... Ow. Get away from me. That is the most dangerous part of this trip so far. Okay, I'm taking off. Okay, back to sanity. That Yellow Jacket chased me and circled around and was looking for an opening for a couple hundred feet at least. Anyway, I think I outran him. Haha. And we're closing in on the Beast. So I'll see you at the Beast. I'm always asking myself, where do things connect? And that knowledge helps me, maybe not today, but on another day. And you see this little canyon here. Had I kept heading down that Lovell Canyon in the gravel, I believe I would have ended up here. And then I would have come out right at this spot. And right at the Beast. Now if I'd missed that, there is another canyon a little further over and I would have been able to come up onto Lovell Canyon Road. So I don't think I could have gotten lost today, no matter what direction I took, but I'm glad I went the way I did. Okay, signing off.